Yo, you know who it is. It's your boy Willie Man and Pop back again.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Uh
So
to,
today,
oh no,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. So today, guys, we're just gonna get straight into it. We're gonna talk about TikTok and its effect on the younger generation. So before we get started on our commentary, here's a little clip.
It wasn't always obvious. In 2018, an app called TikTok came from nowhere. Back then, TikTok seemed like just another mindless app for teens, where teens and creeps would lip sync to insipid droog-like songs. But in a matter of weeks, something changed. YouTubers, commentators, the media, TikTok became the new gold rush. To me, the thought. But back in Beijing, something was bubbling under the surface. A creature called ByteDance. Now, ByteDance wasn't just any old tech startup. It was a startup directed by a man named Zhang Yiming, and it was also a startup that was littered with Chinese officials. 2016 and the Chinese government is inching towards technological dominance. But if they were going to overtake Silicon Valley, they would need to expand their AI technology across the globe. Because back in the mainland, AI proved to be an incredibly effective tool for controlling the population.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it, and anyway, we don't have a choice.
There's a simple reason for this. There are several core psychological techniques used to addict you. The first is short videos in and of themselves.
Short. There may be 15 seconds or something like that. 15, 20 seconds. They're short videos. And so it's just that quick, it's almost like a little tasting menu of
All right. So guys, that was a video that I watched recently, and it got me thinking, we're living in a time where, TikTok is one of the
Biggest
leaders of
social
social media
media
right now.
platforms.
Yeah, it's what's popping, as the kids would say. Um, I find that compared to other social media sites, it has a more profound effect on the younger generation. Maybe we're old, maybe we're just getting old, I don't know. But it seems like it's fostered this culture of clout. It's almost like clout chasing in its purest form. Because we talked about it, Will, that one girl, I keep on forgetting her name.
Bella
Bella
Porsche.
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 Right. So a little
It's time to the beat, bang.
background story on her. I think she was in the Navy for a bit. She
Definitely
got
was.
out. Yeah, she got out, and then she started this trend. She was like one of the early pioneers of TikTok.
Yeah.
She started this trend where all she did was like bob her head like this. And granted, she's attractive, so that got people going. And she gained millions of views and all this clout and whatnot. And there's this various trends, and we've seen TikTok, like, this is just like cringe. Like, a lot of it is cringe, a lot of it is just it adds no value. Granted, there are some TikTokers that do have like funny entertainment, political commentary, DIY projects and stuff like that, but for the most part, what's really popular is just baseless, like nothing. And according to the video and a lot of other studies, like, um TikTok has, or this generation of social media has shown to reduce the attention spans of people, because everything is like a dopamine fix. It's like instant gratification. It's like, oh, I gotta get the next video that's gonna be viral. I gotta do this, I gotta do this, gotta do this. So it's just, and that's not even counting the whole, CCP slash Chinese government part of this. So, Will, I just want to pick your brain and see what you think about this issue. Like, is TikTok a real danger to the younger generation? Is it just, boomers or older people like us just not having the kids have their cake? What do you think about this whole situation?
I mean, me personally, I did a research paper on artificial intelligence, and it was based off of China's artificial intelligence program, which is super crazy. I thought it was dope, but I mean, with every dope idea, there comes negative implications. And I think that TikTok, while it is entertaining, while it can be a way to escape and everything like that, long term, I definitely don't think that's a positive thing. The reason being is when I did my research paper on China's artificial intelligence program, it's wild. Essentially, the program is set based off of cameras and information gathering and everything like that. So they have cameras set up all around the country and everything like that. And each member of society is ranked. And this ranking system is based off of like good deeds, bad deeds, where you are in culture as far as like, what do I want to say? As far as like your good standing in the culture, in the society and everything like that. So like say they caught you jaywalking, that would go towards a point towards your moral system or something like that, where I don't know what they call it, but like let's just use it as a moral system. So you have good morals and bad morals, and every little action you do, like you could throw a piece of paper on the ground and it'll be like, oh, dock a point for this, dock a point for that. And if you watch that video more in depth, it goes into interview of the Chinese people where they're saying like, this is like there needs to be laws, and we're kind of just used to the way things are. So this is normal for us. Like, this is okay. But when I dug deep into the project, it was like really big implications where you might not even be able to open up a business if you like jaywalked 5 times, or like you're just not an upstanding citizen. So then that is like funneling people who listen and do good into this bubble of, or like this very small bubble of people who can actually do things, not necessarily by their free will, because I mean, China's on the surface level supposed to be a communist country, meaning that you don't really have any rights, because we're from America and you're free to choose what job you want to do. You're free to choose like your life paths and everything like that. You're free to take in whatever type of social media that you want. But with the implications of all that technology into TikTok, it has become a problem. I can't like cast the first stone because I use TikTok for my gaming content, but I was a person who was like, yo, I'm never going to use TikTok, this, and that. And then I saw it as a way to propel my gaming content. So I started using it, and like I had decent success on it. I wouldn't say that I'm like, oh yeah, top gamer on TikTok, because it takes a lot more work. But that's the thing, is like the more addicting your content is, or the more addictive your content is, the more views you get. And based on that video, there's a level of addiction that they use. So the thing about TikTok is it's one of the first real world uses of artificial intelligent learning. And the way it does it, the algorithm is based off of artificial intelligence. So it takes what you see, it takes what you hear. We already know that Google and everybody else is like listening in, and then they cater ads to yourself. But like TikTok is like diving into that.
Yeah, they take it a step further.
Yeah, they take it to the next level. So like, you ever wonder, like you're on TikTok and you're scrolling through videos and everything is literally about what you're going through, or like what emotions you're feeling, or what you talked about with friends. It's catering all your content to you so that you keep coming back. I mean, we had the same issue with social media a couple years before that, with like people were like, oh, Facebook, you don't need to be on there because this and that. After you start liking things on Facebook, then it starts picking up your algorithm, and everything's based on the algorithm. That's why every time you're on Facebook, you see all these ads that are like literally catered to you. I could say, hey, I'm gonna look at buying a fitted hat, and then I'll get like 5 ads for fitted hats out of nowhere and be like, yo, this is wild. So long term, I think it's horrible, to be honest. I mean,
there's just so many things that I can unwrap with this situation. So I'll address the whole credit score thing to go maybe a little bit deeper on it. So first of all, the credit score system is just as Will said, it's pretty much like a credit score, but it's a social credit score. So I believe, I wish I had the stats on me, but I'm afraid I don't. But I'm just talking from what I remember, so I could be wrong. But I believe they start off with a certain score, right?
Yeah.
And based on anything that they do wrong, like jaywalk, it could be simple stuff like jaywalk, they miss a payment,
Run a
they
red
get into a
light.
fight,
Yeah.
they
Something.
get negative points docked off. But on the other hand, if they say they help someone in need, or if they I don't know, do a fundraiser, they get plus points. So the negatives to that is that if you have a certain score, you can't ride certain public transportations, you can't get certain loans, you can't go to certain schools, your children can't go to certain schools, you can't get certain like benefits from the government, so forth and so forth. And in other ways, people get points by snitching on their neighbors,
Yeah.
reporting suspicious activity, stuff like that. And the reason why, because I would say that, oh, sorry, my bad. So the reason why to Westerners it might seem horrific, because we're grown up with the whole essence of freedom of speech. We have autonomy to our what we want to do and whatever. So just to go into a little bit, and I might do more of a video on my separate channel, High Side Gaijin San, check that out. So a lot of the East Asian countries, they a lot of their belief systems, if you trace it back, goes back to Confucianism. And from what I remember in Confucianism, it kind of has this groundwork of people in certain statuses in the society, like that's your status and that's it, and you're supposed to respect people above you, and people below you are supposed to respect you. So for example, I remember I was dealing with this one Japanese girl when I was in the military, and she had a pain somewhere in her body, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, like, she couldn't find anything, yada yada yada. And she was still complaining about it. And I was like, why don't you go to another doctor? And she's like, I don't know. The doctor said that, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong. But like in my head, I'm like, yo, if I went to a doctor and I have a pain that's constant, that's going on for months, like I'm going to a second doctor, I'm going to a third doctor, I'm getting a second opinion. That's the no-brainer for an American, a Westerner. But
Mhm.
in East Asia, I'm not saying all East Asians are like this. I'm saying for the most part, especially the more conservative ones, they're gonna be on the mindset of like, oh, this is a doctor, he's a sensei, like he's a master of his craft, so he knows what he's talking about. If he
Right.
says I'm good, then I'm good. Like I can never question him. So it goes back to the whole Chinese situation, where I think that mindset is there. So communism, like the whole CCP, whatever their agenda is, it's so easy to control people, because you saw the clip where people are like, oh, I believe people should follow rules. And another guy was like, well, there's nothing we can do. We just gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
And the CCP has been in power for like since World War II, roughly, like in the beginning of World War II, I think, when Mao Zedong formed the Communist Party. So it's generations of like this indoctrination of like, you follow what the government tells you, like daddy government,
Yeah.
which is what a lot of, Americans don't like. But I digress. So with this being said, that technology is really scary, right? And that's coupled with 5G. 5G is supposed to enable more coverage, faster internet everywhere. So like they do facial recognition with all the cameras, so they can get information at you in real time. So where you've been, like your blood pressure, your probably your blood sugar, like what you read, like I'm talking every aspect of your life, the government records in China. So when you incorporate that in TikTok, right, it's a very slippery slope, because we don't know what the CCP might be doing with that data. Granted, a lot of people who aren't savvy to that information, they might not care, they might be indifferent to that, but it's like, and granted, we all know that tech companies right now are probably tapping into our data too, but it's like, do you really want that type of, you know,
I think
scope in your life?
so. The thing is, I think that tech companies in America are not necessarily using our tech to like control the population because there's not a long-term goal
I
in it.
think,
It's
yeah,
marketing strategies.
I think it's more of a money thing.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's
yeah.
more like, hey, how can we target people to spend more money on our product? So then it creates like a healthy competition between other companies, because it also propels companies into the new age of technology, where if you're not using artificial technology, you're almost not selling anything. Because imagine, I mean, Google is literally getting algorithms and updating them instantly. Like I said, like we can have a conversation right now. Let's just do like, what's something random? I want to buy a basketball. I want to play basketball. I want to buy a basketball next week. Like, and then I guarantee you, like in the next hour or so, like my news feed on my phone is going to be like, hey, buy a basketball. Like, and some people like crumble under that. The big thing is like, I'm not too worried about it because I like to see myself as a free thinker, and I like to like do research on these things regardless. So I know what the negative implications of all this mean. So I'm always constantly preparing for it. So with that being said, I mean, if this really does pop off the way it is, I mean, we got the world going crazy right now with Russia and Ukraine, and then China's been talking about like this whole like don't stop us.
Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan. But that's the thing, is like people dog on America for like, oh, America's so bad, this and that. Like, but it's like, bro, we got it pretty easy in America, especially with like, imagine if you woke up and we were just getting attacked by Canada or Mexico, and they're like really blowing up our cities and things like that. Like, we don't have to deal with those things right now, but in the late future, let's say like 20, 30 years from now, like that might be an actual thing where we're getting attacked. And then it's like, what are people going to do? Everybody's like, I saw so many posts when the war started where people were like, I'm not fighting for my country. It's like, okay, like, what do you mean you're not going to fight for your country? Like, what, like, if that happened to us, like, you have no choice. Like, and that's the thing, like, these people don't have any choice whether they're going to fight for their country or not. The fight came to them, so they have to fight. So
you have to fight, yeah.
But that's the thing, is like, if we're dumbing down our generation, our younger generation, who's supposed to be the foothold in like the next step in society, and they're being dumbed down by TikTok because all they want to do is be famous and dance and not be productive members of society, that's just going to crumble us. Like, we are going to be so far behind all these other countries because, like the video said, which you guys definitely should check it out just to get some perspective. I mean, you don't have to believe it 100%, but I think that there was a lot of good information in there just based off of my research that I did on this whole artificial intelligence. And the thing is too, is like, I was having a conversation with one of my classmates about this whole thing, and he actually said something like that, where he was like, well, just think if like government started using this and this and that. And I was like, but think about like all the things that could be positive with it. And the thing is like you said, it's like these government officials get into a certain level of power, and they deal with different things than what a normal civilian would deal with. Because at the end of the day, not all governments are good. Not all governments are for the people. I mean, obviously we're seeing what's going on in the world right now, and it's not like hey, this is what's best for our people. This is more so like somebody saying like, this is what's best for me. And this is, in the long run, every villain of a movie is always like, yeah, I'm doing this for the betterment of mankind, but not giving mankind an actual option to decide whether they want it or not. So
exactly. Yeah. I also think about this, and this is maybe an interesting, comparison. So, back in the day, when I think the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church was a big thing. Back in the day, people couldn't get access to information. It was, and information at that time was mostly from the Bible and other associated literature that the church would talk to the people about. So people couldn't really, I mean, most people were illiterate, first off, but if you wanted to hear information, like, from scholars or whatever, it was only the clergyman that had it.
Hmm.
So I believe his name was Martin Luther, that
Not the
formed
king.
that. No, not not Martin Luther King, but
You got to say
Martin
that
Luther.
sometimes people will be like, "Yo, Martin Luther King was in the
Nah,
Bible."
I
Like,
mean, I wouldn't put it past people nowadays. But
yeah.
Martin Luther, the by his namesake, he formed the Lutheran Reformation, where that's where all Protestant denominations of Christianity comes from, right? Where they broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and they're like, oh, we're not gonna deal with priests or whatever reading the Bible, like we're gonna read it ourselves, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
So that's where, people, because like information basically was sequestered by the papacy. But on the other end, now we're living in now, there's so much information, so much false information, the quote unquote misinformation and all that stuff. So I think with, social media, especially TikTok, when bombarding of information like bam, 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 bam,
Mm.
and then you have all this information like constantly, you're constantly like in a state of like
Stimulus.
dopamine, like
Yeah,
like
like you're
like,
stimulated always. Like,
you're always stimulated.
yeah.
And I think that's what's excuse me, that's what's messing up a lot of people, a lot of youth nowadays, where, growing up, like I read a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, I was like, I was bored sometimes. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have any of that stuff. I was like reading encyclopedias, bro.
And I
And it's
didn't
like,
read like that, but I watched a lot of videos
yeah,
as far as like,
like,
because we're all different learners. So some of us
yeah,
are
all different
visual
learners.
learners. Some of us like learn from reading. Some of us learn from
I mean,
doing.
shoot, look at some of the greatest like music talents, like Jay-Z, like he read dictionaries. Kanye, his mother was a English professor,
Mhm.
right? But it just goes to show where it's like we're missing a key part of, I guess, development in our kids and the younger people, where everything is about clout, everything is about now, everything is about gimme, 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 everything is about nonsensical stuff that isn't developing the society as a whole. And I think that's one of the reasons why some people would say, like, as a society, we're kind of decaying or dying or just being weak in general. Because when you look at other countries, I think other young people, other countries are way more patriotic to their countries. They're
Yeah.
way more about like community, like, oh, what can I do to give back?
Yeah.
Like, yo, I need to be a doctor so I can, be a doctor in my village, or oh, I'm gonna be an engineer so I can build buildings for my village or whatever. Nowadays, everyone is like, damn, that's tough, but I'm gonna get mine. I don't really care
Yeah.
about any other people. And it's gradually dividing people, in the country, where, it's like, oh, you're black, or oh, you're white, or oh, you're LGBTQ, or oh, you're this, and oh, you're that, and blah 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 blah. And it's not looking good with the whole, conflict in Ukraine and Russia and China and all this other stuff, and
I mean,
inflation.
I
It's
knew
just
that it
not
was
good.
bad when like people just started talking about like, yo, I'm not gonna fight for my country. And it's like, bro, already if the younger generation doesn't think that they need to fight for their country, like in general, like even not joining
Mhm.
the military, but just being like stand up for your country and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
dudes are literally just making memes. Like everything's a meme now. Everything's just like funny. And it's like, granted, I share memes and I like memes and stuff like that. But like to a certain extent, like we come from a
Mhm.
generation where like comedy was just comedy. It wasn't like this is real life, but like these are people
Well,
who are like really agreeing with it. I mean, think about when Dave Chappelle came out. Like he
Mhm.
did a lot of jokes that were just like, okay, like it's funny because it's like a stereotype or it's just like
yeah.
some random instant, but he wasn't going out there and like building like a cult following on like,
I-
yo, you
I
should
get
build a
it.
time machine and go stop slavery. So
For
like, but
Yo, shout out to Long Beach Griffey. Yo, that dude is different, bro. He's on a
Yeah.
different level.
that man
But
is wild.
yo, but I mean, I love memes, but
But it's edgy comedy.
I think the reason why meme culture is so big is because it's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism, man. Like, we know it. Like, you see, there's student debt. People can't find jobs. shoot, a lot of dudes can't really find chicks because a lot of chicks are into the culture where like, oh, I'm gonna get flown out, OnlyFans, all that stuff. So a lot of average dudes are in competition with those dudes, and a lot of people are quote unquote incels. A lot of dudes could be quote unquote incels or like not dealing with women, and then there's just a whole bunch of like different struggles that a lot of young people have to deal with. And the economy and the wars and all this stuff, it's not helping people's mental, right? So I think memes, the reason why people like make fun of everything, because it's kind of like a coping mechanism to kind of keep sane in a certain way, because like we're really living in some crazy ass times, bro. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not,
we
it's not
growing
sweet
up,
out here.
like, what was the wildest thing that we had to deal with when we were kids? Nothing really.
The
Like,
wildest thing that I've ever dealt with was probably 9/11,
yeah, I
because
mean, yeah,
that didn't seem real
yeah,
at
at
the
all.
time.
Yeah, I was in
But
eighth grade when that happened. And I
yeah,
remember I showed up late to school and I was walking in the class and they were just like, yo, sit down. Like, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, cause I'm the class clown and everything. I'm like, yo,
yeah.
why everybody so serious in here? And then my dumbass. like, yo, guess who's back? Hey, sit your ass down. Like, but nah, like that was like truthfully, like that was the biggest thing that we had to deal with in our lifetime until COVID hit. And then now it just seems like it's a constant state of like trauma, like back to back to back. It's like we haven't had a chill summer in like 3 years, going on 4.
Yeah, well, I would say even in Jamaica, like it was sweet. Like it was chill for the most part.
As far as world problems, like nothing like detrimental, like that's
yeah. Well, there was 9/11, and then I think towards the end when I was coming back, I think there was a depression, the recession, 2008.
Yeah, the recession. That was
probably it.
But that wasn't horrible. Like that was like it was bad, but it was kind of just like, I don't know, maybe because we Black and we know how to struggle, but it was just like that's when I was like, well, I guess I'm about to join the military. Like, it's like, yep, I'm down and out here. Like, there ain't really much going on no more.
Put me up, bro.
Oh, for real though. Like, but that's the thing too, is like nowadays, like people just rather be in the struggle. Like, I'm not like trying to advocate like, yo, you should just join the military, but like low key, like that is if you're trying to get your life together, like, and you just literally have nothing, bro, like just join. Like but the thing is like everybody who I used to tell like back in the day, they were just like, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be this and that. And that shit did suck for a little while. But like, I like to think I've been living pretty comfortably for the last 8 years, it feels like.
Shit, I've always wanted to come to Japan. Guess what? Got orders to Japan.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was like, yo, I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to go to Japan. I was telling people that before I even left. And then I got orders to Japan. I was like, yo, what are you joining the military for? Well, I want to see the world, this and that. And bro, I've seen literally every country, it feels like. Like I've been all over the world.
Been to Africa. Will has been way more countries than I have. This guy's been living in Europe. Like, bro, like you're not gonna get that. I lived in Korea for 6 months. Like,
yeah, I've been to Korea. Korea is like kind of dope, but
I don't know. I like Korea, but I will say this: whatever you think of, because and again, before I go on this point, like I think the reason why a lot of people want to fight for the
before
country.
You guys go on that point, if you're this far, yo, hit that subscribe button, please,
or else,
please, not
or else.
But
I think the reason why a lot of people don't want to fight for their country is because they are so disillusioned by the government. The U.S. government. Like, a lot of things have come out about corruption and the corporate cronyism and all that stuff. But yeah, so that's why a lot of people don't want to join, and they think obviously if you join the military, you're a baby killer, blah 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 blah, or if you join, you're gonna die. Granted,
that's what we were talking about.
I did get mortared. Yeah, I did get mortared.
We've all been mortared. Like, what you mean? Like, we were actually in a war in Afghanistan. Like, that's a lot of things that people don't remember. And that's the thing too, is like, when things started slowing down, like the whole culture of the Air Force kind of changed. So the dudes who were in like even 3 to 4 years before us were drastically different from us. Like,
oh yeah, Oh yeah, for sure.
Like them dudes were low key crazy. like
It was a different world.
yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm not advocating for it, but I think my life wouldn't have been as good as it is now if I didn't join, honestly. Because like I was doing STEM, but the college debt and the outlook of jobs, like if I wasn't in the military, like nah.
I mean, I had a
Nah, bro.
opportunity to be was it HVAC repairman?
Yeah.
But like, even with that being said, how long would that job have lasted? And then like, okay, I'm experienced in fixing air conditioning systems, but like, if I can't get a job in the city I live in, I would have had to move at some point. And I mean, I took the path of least resistance because the military has done a lot for me as far as like setting me up for success. So let's not get that wrong. Like the military has its pros and its cons, but at the core of the military, they will take care of you and make sure that everything is like you're at least a functioning adult to a certain extent. I mean, they teach you how to be responsible for yourself. I was pretty responsible for myself before. I mean, I still had a lot to learn when I got in, because like when I first got in, I was like, wow, I was like, still had that civilian type of mentality where I was like, bro, you ain't about to be talking to me like, wow. And like people had to like pull me to the side and be like, hey, you can't do that. And I'm like, nah, like there's a certain level of like disrespect you just don't take. But the best part about that is like the more you learned your job, the more respect you got. And I just learned how to do my job, and then people couldn't tell me really anything. So kind of just got to do what I wanted for the most part. But that came with me spending hours learning a job, like not going home at certain points in time. Just there's so much that I had to learn as far as like life, and learning my job was like a big thing. So we got briefly cut off, but that's besides the point. We can get into my military life experiences later. The real reason we're here is to finish this TikTok discussion, which
after we were going off on a tangent, Will.
Hey man, I got a lot to say. But there's never enough time. I mean, we could talk on this platform all day long about everything that's going on in the world, everything that's going on in society. While I do think that people use TikTok as a coping mechanism to kind of just get away from their problems at times, or just see a laugh, or just see people in the same boat, or they just want to entertain themselves. I think the best thing to do is to look at it as not as something that you just dump your entire life into. It's just like any other social media platform. With the way that it's going, though, I don't know. I mean, at some point, I mean, TikTok is banned in a lot of countries, to be honest. India banned them. So, I mean, the US almost banned them at one point. And people are worried about it. I think that people need to, I'm not coming on here to say, oh, don't use TikTok, because like I use TikTok. I'm not going to lie. I probably still use it just because it's a way to just drop my content out there. This isn't oh, you need to delete TikTok right now type thing. This is just more so is like, understand what TikTok is and do some research and realize like what the real life implications are. I think that consuming TikTok all day, every day, nonstop is horrible. I don't think you should look at your career as being like, I'm going to be a TikTok influencer. And that's another thing too. It's just like influencers. There's good influencers. And then there's us, who I can't influence anybody on social media to save my life. But I mean, I'm trying. It's a little bit different because we weren't raised on like social media like that. So we weren't raised to be like, you should put a product out on social media first. Like it was never that. It was just kind of like you share products and things that you like on your own personal page, and your friends and family would just like comment, and then you talk about it. And that's another thing too, is like I just feel like we've become so distant on social media because instead of talking to each other, we just talk to random people on TikTok or random people on posts that we don't even know who's on the other side of the mirror. So I definitely think that having real life conversations with your actual people and friends that you know is something that people should be doing. Like, don't get so caught up in this whole TikTok world and this social media and this world of like, I gotta do 1 million views on TikTok and I can't work at McDonald's. Like, bro, if you work at McDonald's and you're paying your bills and you're getting a check and you are working towards your goals, like that's more important than somebody who's going to be on TikTok getting views and things like that. Because just like Vine, bro, Vine just disappeared. And what everybody who was on Vine had to do, they had to start making YouTube videos. They had to start getting real jobs. Yeah. So unless you're prepared to just literally be on social media for the rest of your life, I definitely don't recommend diving too deep into TikTok as far as like even helping out society, because it's like, okay, Gary Vee talked about it before I go off, like, oh no, I'll just finish up. But Gary Vee talked about it where out of all the people who are on TikTok, probably like 500 people go viral a year, 500. And then even if you look at that number, like 5,000, like I almost have like 4,000 followers on TikTok. And that's such a small number compared to like people doing like 8 million views, 9 million views, things like that. So it's like, take that into perspective and think like, okay, this may work for everybody else and you may want it to work, but think about what TikTok is doing to you as far as like that instant gratification type thing. I definitely still think that we need doctors, we need scientists, we need lawyers, we need all these things. And to be honest, like we need to evolve as a species. Do I use species? Like, it's like we need to evolve as far as like, because I'm super big in tech. And I thought like technology would be so much further than what it is now, especially after I started seeing like the first iPhones. Like I said, I did a research on artificial intelligence like a year ago, almost a year and a half ago. And I kind of saw this come in, but I didn't think that it would happen this quick. But like artificial intelligence in the next 5 years, I mean, we got the metaverse coming up and things like that. But I think that the world is changing for sure. And just like any futuristic movie we used to watch, like Total Recall and all these other movies, some of y'all who got kids, you know, Wally, like where the humans are just like, we'll just do what the robots tell us until we can figure things out. Like it can get to that point. I don't think every technological advancement is going to be like Terminator, where artificial intelligence is taking over the world. Like, no, that's probably like 100 years from now. But in the near future, even like with this whole China plan, I mean, they're talking about that's supposed to be like 2049. Like, if I only get like 9 or 15 years to just like chill after retiring, like I'm gonna be pretty pissed, bro. Like it's like 15 years apiece, and then it's just like World War III. But I'm done. All right, get me off this mic. Get me off my soapbox.
Oh, I think my closing remarks, I think the biggest reason to fear, or not fear, but be cautious of TikTok is not only because of the addictive nature of it and whatnot, but it's more of the cybersecurity risk that it has to people's information, because now we are already in the age where everything is digital. Our money, our PII, our HIPAA information, all that's good stuff. So in a world view, or in a country versus country kind of view, like, you know, we all know that China wants to become a world superpower, wants to be number one. And when we're all dumbed down doing, you know, TikTok dances, we have TikTok installed on our phones, and all that information, like, you know, you could have a person that's a power grid worker having information on their phone, and China can tap into that. You have military members who have clearances, and China can tap into that. You have politicians that have TikToks, or politicians dependents, they get tap into that. So it's with that AI, it's nothing for them to just glean information, because we already know that China for many years has stolen IP from big military industrial complex companies such as Boeing, XYZ, to build their military up, and they have built their military up to a certain point. So I think that even though America does still have the military advantage, um, China has built up their soft power in terms of economic leverage and their technology to a point where it can rival us. And I think a lot of Americans are not hip to the implications of cybersecurity and why we need it. So, with that being said, in addition to the fact that we don't know, if America does lose its quote unquote stance on freedom, because a lot of countries, a lot of other dictatorships are looking at China as like, yo, they got the juice. Like, yo, let me get the plans so we can have a tight grip on our country, just like China has. So we don't know how far this might spread, and it's literally dystopian like movies come to real life type deal. So that could be that could be a future what TikTok could start off as. It could just be like worst case scenario. But yeah, it's a very interesting time we're living in right now, technology wise. But that's all I have.
I mean, the thing is like nothing, everybody thinks like this big world war is going to be like, oh, they're just going to start shooting at each other. Like, nah, man. Like,
No.
the thing is like everything comes as you least expect it in life. You never can really plan for a situation that just catches you off guard. And the biggest thing is humans are the biggest wrench in the plan at times, because human behavior, human emotions, human, what is that? I'm thinking of the word conquest, I guess. I can use that for now. But the conquest of man can never be really predicted. I mean, people wake up in one day and just be like, yo, I'm gonna be a villain. Like, it just happens. Like somebody hurts somebody in one way and then it ripples a chain effect. Like, I've seen it firsthand. So with that being said, just be cognitive of everything that you're taking in. Don't get too caught up in the social media world where you're not realizing like the things that are going on in the real world. I think the biggest thing to our viewers that we want to portray is like read, do your own research, and like take the time to understand the world around you. The older generation, I mean, we're old, nobody wants to listen to us no more. We're not hip with all this stuff. And that's the thing, is like, you don't have to be hip like to know stuff. Like most of the time when you look at movies, and we can relate it to that, is like when a movie happens and they're just like, oh, everything's broke loose, what do? They go to a scientist. Like, they always go to a scientist. They always go to a top research designer. They're not just like, oh, let's go see who was the top Instagram model or the top TikToker in 2011. So just think about that. I mean, money is nice, and it's nice to just be like doing your own thing. But like, we live in a world that is just not about individual people. So when individual people start thinking about individual people, we become divided. And I think that people have become really divided. People who are trying to make an honest living getting dogged on, but as far as like, oh, you're working, ha ha ha, we're out partying, we're out doing this. And it's just like, bro, stay on your grind. That's for anybody. Stay on your grind and everything will come to you as it needs be. And then in 10, 15 years, when everybody's just like, oh man, I should have started back then, because we hear it all the time where like that's what we grew up on, where everybody was like, man, I wish I would have just did this and that. And they kind of just got caught up in the partying and bullshit and then not thinking about like, this is going to end. So be humble out here, and till next time. Peace.
Peace.